Yep, sure. So we have Judy Salza and Heather, and then we have Deborah for our support people, and then Jonathan will be speaking a little later. You'll get to see him enough, you know. You don't have to see him, right? No, I'm kidding. He's right there. Look, can you see him? Yeah. We are members here at the Helena Seventh-day Adventist Church, and we like to cook, and Jonathan doesn't like to cook. We like to cook, and we like to share what we have cooked or some of the things that we're learning, and are welcome the knowledge you have also. The Adventist Church has been involved in health for a very long time, since at least near the beginning, if not the very beginning. And so there are some things that, have changed over the years, but it changed as far as, I don't know how to say that. Sometimes, like when you first become an Adventist, cheese seems to be a big thing. Or maybe it's just the 80s and cheese was a big thing. And so now we know that it's probably not the best thing for us to eat. There are things that are worse, but there are better choices too. So anyway, so we are going to start with the first recipe you got probably was Swiss chard salad. It's like a roll-up.
All right, can you hear me okay? My voice is a little raspy, just to let you know. I'm not sick. It's always like that, and there's nothing wrong with me. So I just have a raspy voice, and it is what it is. So we were talking about salads and what salads to make. They were like, try to find things that you can get out of your garden. And so this year, well, almost every year, we really wanted to have a garden. And this year we almost got there, but we had to leave for a month right in the spring. And so my husband was wonderful and got some garden boxes done, but we had to leave right at the planting season, right at everything, and so we never got to have a garden. When we got back, I said, there's just one thing I want to plant, if we can just plant one thing. So my husband filled the garden boxes up, and I was able to plant the Swiss chard, because one of my favorite things in the garden is Swiss chard. And have you guys had Swiss chard? How many have had Swiss chard? Okay. How many of you have had kale? So kale was really popular. It probably still is, and everybody has all this kale stuff. But I'm not real big on kale because it's a lot of chewing, and it's tougher. Anyway, so I tried to find a recipe that didn't ask for kale, but could use Swiss chard. And so I came across one. I tried several different things. I had to alter some things to really ignite the flavor a little more. And so I think with these alterations, it's going to be pretty good. So because even kale is Swiss chard is a little stiffer, it's not quite as stiff as the kale. So, but we do blanch these real quick, and then we throw it in an ice bath to shock it and stop the cooking process. And that tenders it up just enough to make it really easy to roll and good. Another thing that Another thing that I had thought about when choosing this particular recipe is that protein is a big deal. And many of you may not know that Swiss chard actually has all 9 essential amino acids. So it is a little bit lower in one of the essential amino acids, and that's methylthionine. So that's the only one that is just a little bit lower. But another thing that's in the recipe is sunflower seeds and quinoa, and they are both they both have complete essential amino acids. So for a salad, this actually contains a good amount of protein, and it's a complete protein. So the main thing you want to do is just cut out the ribs or the spine, the stem. Some of them some of the Swiss chard, you can get rainbow, you can get, which is like yellow and orange and red. I found that the red ones tend to be bigger, which is really nice, but they also tend to have a little tougher stem, which also includes the veins that go out here. I kind of like those ones just because they're bigger and you can get more bang for your buck. So these ones, because they are smaller leaves, when I roll them, I'm going to have to probably like overlap like this and then do the roll. Okay? So, but this is called Swiss chard salad wraps, and it has a slaw, kind of a coleslaw type filling. And so the first thing we're going to do, and I don't know if this is going to work because I really didn't have this, I thought it was turned on, but it wasn't. But this just goes right into the water, and we time it for 1 minute. If you have the ones with the red stems, because they are tougher, you can go 1.5 minutes. But for these ones, it's just about 1 minute. Do you have tongs? Thanks. So we're going to just kind of time that. You want to time for me? Yeah. I guess. Does that have a second hand? No? Oh, great. Thank you. So usually you want to bring the water to boiling. That's why I have the lid on it. Bring it to boiling, leave it at boiling, take the lid off, and then dunk these in for about 1 minute. And because it's not hot enough, it's not going to get quite as limp. But you'll know from the ones you're eating that it does get real limp. After 1 minute, has it been about 1 minute yet? Okay. We'll let that go for a little bit. And while that's getting soft, the next thing we do is we make the filling. All right. So the filling has, I get the kind in the package, I don't have it with me right now, but you can either shred your own purple cabbage, green cabbage, and carrots and shred it nice and fine, or you can buy the pre-done if you're in a hurry. And so that's 3 cups of cabbage, and that's done. So because the water wasn't real hot, this is not going to be as limp, but you'll get the idea. Turn that back off. And then we're going to take that right out. And then you just throw it right in the ice bath water. So there's water and ice in here. It stops the cooking process, and it cools it off. And I'm going to just set this over here. And then I even like to just drain these. So once these have been cooled off and stopped cooking, you just kind of squeeze the water out like that. These actually feel pretty good, so maybe you don't need it quite at boiling. And then just fluff them up in here and let them drain. I got them in a colander. And I just kind of let them drain while I'm mixing the rest of this stuff. I feel like I need a little towel. Here we go. Okay. So then the next one is a large cored apple. You want to core it, dice it up really small. Smaller the better, but not so much that it's shredded. You want to put those in there. And then 2 tablespoons of raw sunflower seeds. Do those in there. And 2 green onions, chopped up with the greens as well. And then 2 to 3 tablespoons of parsley. So we've got those in there. And so all your leafy greens have calcium. So anytime I'm going for dark leafy greens, I'm thinking calcium and a lot of antioxidants. It's also going to have quinoa. You can also use rice if you want, but I like the quinoa because it is a complete protein source. And Actually, I knew my brain would stumble on me here. But just some extra benefits. It's high in protein. It's rich in all kinds of nutrients like iron, magnesium, phosphorus, zinc, as well as your B vitamins and vitamin E. It's also high in fiber. It's gluten-free, of course, and low glycemic index, so it's not going to spike your blood sugars if you have any kind of prediabetes or diabetes. Full of antioxidants, as I said, and it helps the cell, it protects the cell from damage. So we're just going to add that in there. Anytime you can add quinoa, it's an optional addition, but anytime you can add it, it does give you the protein and everything else. So, pardon? Yes, I'm sorry. You cook this first. I usually cook it the night before I make the salad. That way it has time to cool off, because otherwise you'll be adding it hot in there. So yeah, cook it ahead of time, cool it off in the fridge, and then measure it out. I believe on your recipe, this is it might say walnuts. Does it say walnuts or walnuts? Okay, I actually used pecans, and the reason I'm using pecans, you can use walnuts or pecans, but it's a softer nut. The original recipe called for feta cheese, and I've tried, there's some feta cheese that's being used in the other recipe, so I wanted to do something a little bit different. And I actually really like the pecans in here. And I feel like it's also really great for a holiday because pecans are a fall, Thanksgiving, holiday type nut. And another thing that I just added was the cranberries. And so we chop up the pecans pretty small. You can add those in. And then also cranberries, I chop these up similarly, just like I chopped up the nuts.
They're not dried.
They're dried cranberries.
Oh, they are.
They are dried cranberries.
So they're craisins.
They're craisins,
Okay.
yeah. So we got that in there. And so with the pecans and the cranberries, it does give it a fall kind of flair, which is kind of fun. So that is that. And then, I forgot my spoon. But we'll just get that all mixed up in there, just like that. So it's a lot of healthy ingredients, a lot of crunch, and a lot of flavor. So I think you'll enjoy that. All right, and then we're just going to set this one aside for a second here. And the next thing I'm going to be mixing, in there, is the dressing. So the dressing, I use it calls for plain yogurt, no flavor, just plain. And this one has really got nice flavor, and it's dairy-free, so delicious. Made with, I believe, coconut. So as for half a cup of that, we're gonna just put that right in there, along with your recipe, I believe, says a tablespoon of apple cider vinegar. Does it say balsamic? I don't know. I kind of was making changes with it along the way. I do half and half. The apple cider vinegar has a lot of good properties for your probiotics and your gut biome. So that's why I like to go ahead and add that. So it's 1 tablespoon. If you ever double the batch, it's great because then you can just do 1 and 1. But we'll do half and half. And the balsamic vinegar I've found it does give it a little more, a better kick, I would say, just a nicer flavor. So that's why I do that. And just put that right in there. All right, and then the next is the Dijon mustard. Oh, let's do the tablespoon of regular apple juice, and then it just has 2 tablespoons of regular apple juice. So put that right in there. There we go. And then the 2 teaspoons. I'm going to just back up a little bit because there was also a teaspoon of lemon juice that we mix into the salad part. So I'm going to just go ahead and add that in while I'm here. And just mix that up. Okay. And then the 2 teaspoons of the Dijon mustard. Is it on there? Okay.
Yeah, you're doing totally different measurements than what this recipe says that we have in front of us.
Yep, and I'm going to explain in just a minute why. And you can do it according to what's in front of you, just so that you're aware. You can go ahead and do that, and it's fine. What I actually did when I told her what the recipe was going to be, I said, let's not double it, but let's do 1.5. And so I did that. But once I have a tendency to keep experimenting till the very last minute. So once at the last minute, I decided to do the craisins and the balsamic. I think the balsamic vinegar is on there, isn't it? Okay. The craisins and the pecans, I decided to switch it. And that gave it enough flavor that you don't really have to do 1.5. If you want to, you can. It makes it a little more moist. It makes it a little, so you can follow that exactly like that. It'll just have a little more of the dressing. Or I can repeat these and you can write those down for just the basic. Want me to repeat them real quick? No? Okay. All right. And then the last thing is just the agave syrup, and that's just 1 tablespoon, so you probably have 1.5 tablespoons, correct? Yeah. So that's what happened. Sorry about that. I had forgotten that I had doubled it. There we go. And that's just the 1 tablespoon. All right. And then we're just going to stir that up. Okay, I'm almost done. Oh, okay. All right, so here's the salad, and this is the dressing. And we're just going to pour that right in there. Like that. Okay. Toss that all together. So, okay, so then we just have our leaves. I'm just going to roll one of these up for time's sake. So this is one because it is a smaller leaf. I'm going to just put them together like that. You just put a nice little scoop in there. I hope that can, I don't know if that's showing that or not. And then you want to roll up the sides and then curl it in, just like that. And roll up the sides and curl it in. And then it makes your little rolls. And these can be arranged in a circle on a plate, and it looks really, really pretty. It's really a nice finger food for salad. Like, how many people can serve salad that you can eat with your fingers? So this is nice if you have like a finger food kind of set up for a meal. Also, I did want to show a couple more things. You can also, if you want to even just bypass this altogether, the cooking part, you could pretend these aren't cooked, pretend these are still raw. You can take them, cut out the stems just like we did, stack a few up, and roll them up really, really tight, like this, so that it's really tight rolled up. And then you're going to just shred it, like just take really tiny, and you can do this without them being cooked. You can also do it with spinach if you would prefer spinach. If you like kale, you could do the same thing with kale. And you just shred it up like this. It makes lots of nice little shreds. And then you can just toss it right into the bowl, and it makes a nice little salad like this that you would eat with a fork, obviously. And then when I first served these to my husband's not a real finger food kind of person. He likes to eat with a fork. And he said, the only problem I had with it is I couldn't cut it with my fork. And so you can also take these, and you wouldn't want to use these as finger food. This would be because it'll just fall apart if you try to pick it up. But you can cut these in a row like this, and then actually put it on a platter. So if you're serving a dinner, each person can get their own like this. You could make a side of dressing also. And I had a squeeze bottle, but I forgot to bring it. But put it in a squeeze bottle and just kind of drizzle or squeeze over a little more of the dressing. And then each person has their own that they can actually eat with a fork. So thanks to my husband for that brilliant idea. I think it was great. So that's it. And that's it. Is there any other questions? Yes.
I didn't know if you put it in after the water is boiling. Is it a minute and a half after the water is boiling, or a minute and a half with the water cold?
Get the water boiling,
Oh, okay.
and then you put it in. And I would just do about a minute. If you have the really big, thick leaves, you might want to go a minute and a half.
Okay.
Yeah. And I will say, this was not even boiling, and these look pretty good. Sometimes if it can get holes and stuff, and at first it might be challenging, a little bit to roll. But after you roll a few, you realize you can even do patchwork. Like I've done a little bit of patchwork. Oh, there's a hole there, so I'd rip a piece off and cover the hole, and then just roll it up, and it works out just fine. Or if there's not enough on the sides to flap it in so that you can have the ends covered, you can just add a little piece to the end and then put your filling in there, and then you've got enough to flap over. So it's just kind of trial and error as you're rolling it. But it's kind of a fun thing to serve. It looks pretty, especially if you have them all arranged in a circle. And I think it tastes pretty good, actually. So,
Thank you so much.
You're welcome.
It's always great when you can have fun with food. Making things food can be its own art. So in our process of trying to constantly improve and better the information and the way we convey the information to you, we're doing a little thing now where I come out and talk a little bit now, and then a little bit later, and then a little bit later. Partly this is also to keep me under control so I don't talk too long. But what I'd like to bring you today is something that is timely. So this actually occurred back in June, just after our last meeting, the last time we saw each other. And it's what it, so we'll go ahead and go to the next slide. Oh, you didn't add it. Okay. Anyway, so what it is an announcement from, I guess, some groups that are watching, the American Medical Association. So, and this has to do with breast cancer primarily, but cancer in general. And it has to do with the American The American Medical Association, yeah, we'll get it up in a second, so pay no attention to that. The American Medical Association guidelines, they set out guidelines, and this is the thing that kind of all the people who are in the American Medical Association, so we're talking about doctors and other medical professionals, take their guidance from this group, among others. And in June, they voted to accept a policy change, or to make a policy change, specifically focusing on breast cancer. Now, breast cancer, the main, for the last probably 20 years or more, the main, what the main push has been early diagnosis, because with early diagnosis and treatment, there is actually a 90+% survival rate, which is fantastic. We're really, really glad for that. But what has been missing from the conversation until now is, what can you do to prevent breast cancer? Now, when asked in a survey of women, what can you do to prevent breast cancer, what they would say is, well, I can, a self-screening, I can talk to my doctor, I can get mammograms. Now, although those do lower your risk of dying from breast cancer, they don't actually lower your risk of breast cancer. So what has changed now, this is the wrong slide. Back up, please. All right, so breast cancer. So the stats are 1 in 8, this is kind of interesting, I didn't realize it, but 1 in 8 women in the United States will get breast cancer in their lifetime. 1 in 8. So that affects quite a few women. But what's interesting about cancer in general, and these two studies that I brought up here that you can reference, is that what women don't know is that they can do something to avoid it. And one of those is soy. And this one is an impact of soy foods on the development of breast cancer and the prognosis of breast cancer. What this study found was that soy, although soy can actually lower risk of breast cancer by as much as 30%. Now that seems to be, if that soy is introduced early on, like in childhood and adolescence, that has that protective effect going into adulthood. But it further found that after a post-prognosis of breast cancer, the introduction of soy to a diet can statistically significantly improves outcomes. So your chances of surviving and your the long-term remission is actually affected by soy being part of your diet. So soybeans, tofu, that kind of thing. The other study here was kind of an interesting one. It says cancer is a preventable disease that requires major lifestyle changes. This study found that 5 to 10% of all cancers can be traced to genetics. Only 5 to 10%, which means that 90 to 95% are a result of diet and environmental factors. The diet was specifically linked to about, I think it was 35, I'm pulling from memory here now, 35 to 40% of cancers were linked to diet. The rest of them were environmental toxins and different things like that. Okay, next slide. So what the American Medical Association is now going to be promoting is a prevention-based policy, a prevention-focused policy, and they have 4 parts to this policy. The first one is they're encouraging plant-based diet. So a plant-based diet has shown a 21% reduction in the incidence of breast cancer. It also improves other types of cancers, so even if you don't have breasts, this could still be a benefit to you. But specifically with breast cancer, 21% improvement or 21% reduction in incidence rate. What I actually, and I don't know if this is news to anyone else, but I didn't realize that men can get breast cancer too. And so that's good to know. It's not obviously as high of an incidence rate, but it can happen. The second point is exercise. Exercise helps to reduce your risk of cancer. It improves your odds. And the recommendation is this is from the American Cancer Association or Cancer Society. Don't want to mislabel them. They recommend 150 to 300 minutes of exercise per week, or 75 to 150 minutes of vigorous exercise. So your moderate activity might be like going for a walk, or other types of things like gardening, which we'll get to later. But a vigorous exercise, you can kind of cut your time in half. So if you're time limited, And exercise is kind of more my jam anyway. But high intensity interval training is really good because you can cram a lot of benefits into a smaller time window. So if you're crammed for time, vigorous activity, you don't have to do as much of it throughout the week to get the same benefit. And you can mix and match these. So if you want to do half your time, basically the goal is 300 minutes, and if you do vigorous, it counts double. So exercise, get out and move your body, enjoy the outdoors. You can go to the gym if you want to, that works too. The third item was alcohol. They found alcohol has a direct link to your risk factors for breast cancer or in cancer in general. As little as 10 grams, which is equal to one drink, one glass of wine or one beer, according to what they read. I don't know how much alcohol is in it. I don't drink. But apparently this one drink can actually increase your risk by 5% or 9%, depending on whether you are pre or post-menopausal. So alcohol, as the wise man said, wine is a mocker and beer is a brawler, so I'd rather just avoid it completely. And apparently it'll brawl you with cancer if you drink too much of it. So I'd rather avoid it completely. I don't like percentages. So the last one, number 4, weight maintenance. I know we don't want to talk about it, but it is one of the factors. So statistically, those with higher than a 30 BMI are at a higher risk of developing breast cancer. The other problem they ran into, or they noticed with higher BMIs, is that the breast cancer is found later and is therefore usually much worse. So it's more difficult to detect for those with higher BMIs, and so therefore you find it in a later stage and it has a higher likelihood of having gone outside of the breast itself. So weight maintenance, which is actually something you can address with some of these previous items. So it all works kind of together synergistically to help lower your risk of breast cancer. So armed with this knowledge, I hope that you can, help not only yourself, but those you know. And we're just really happy that the American Medical Association has decided, instead of just trying to treat problems when they arise, maybe we can address it before it happens. Are you ready? I should have asked if you were ready.
Before Heather starts, I just wanted to say one last thing about that recipe that I did. At the end, it does say salt and pepper. You can cross that right off because I tried it with the salt and pepper and it actually takes away from the flavor. And so I would just skip the salt and pepper altogether. Yay, less salt. Less salt in our diet. We get it in enough other places.
All right, guys. I'm not nearly as good as Judy. Judy's awesome. Oh, thank you. But we have 3 back-to-back salads. So I'm going to be somewhat interrupted with you guys getting served. Just kind of set up that expectation. We're also doing it a little out of order from the slides, sorry. So we're gonna start with the strawberry salad. It might be I can't remember where I put it, honestly.
The spinach balsamic.
Yeah,
It's on the backside of oil-free balsamic.
yep. So I'm also gonna be pretty quick because salads are easy, right? Anyway, so all 3 of these salads have some sort of fruit or vegetable from somebody's garden, somebody's local garden. Not all of it is entirely locally sourced from somebody's garden, but something. All right. Well, the strawberries, yeah. The salad actually, maybe not so much. You'll notice there's not a lot of measurements on this salad. And that's because you just make it how you want to make it. Spinach. I know a few people have had spinach in their gardens. Strawberries. People have had strawberries in their gardens. Also, just to describe real quick, This comes with feta. We're going to give you an option of a tofu marinade that you can make at home. Or we're also using this VO Life vegan feta. So you can try a little bit of each, however you want to try it. But yeah, try it out, experiment with it. And then of course we have onions and walnuts. Mix all of it together in some sort of fashion, and you have a salad. Yeah. Yep. No, you can go to most any grocery store. I'm trying to think of all the different places. So, Albertsons, I believe you can find this with the regular feta and Parmesan. I think most stores are that way. Natural Grocers, I think, is actually in the vegan cheese area. Yeah, so if there's a vegan area usually in the produce area, check there. If you don't find it there, go check in the regular cheese aisle, and you should be able to find it. It's pretty accessible here in Helena, which is pretty awesome. Pampered Chef, Dawn has a few Pampered Chef items, and she provided this cool little slicer. You just stick the strawberry in there, and just put it down over the strawberry, and you get these really awesome slices. Any questions about this salad? Yes, we did toast the almonds. It is also delicious if you don't have time to toast the almonds. If you decide tonight to make it, or tomorrow night to make it, you haven't toasted the almonds, or walnuts, you can just put some raw ones on. All right, we're gonna go to the broccoli salad. You may get a different salad. We'll talk about that later. So I have everything already mixed together. The broccoli is the most time-consuming piece of this because you want small pieces. And I took the lazy man's way out. In last class, we talked about this handy-dandy chopper, and I used it again. So if you don't like the broccoli that small, maybe don't take the lazy man's way out. I think, as most of you know, not a huge celery fan, but I did include celery in here for you guys, because you are what matter. A little bit of red onion. So the broccoli was sourced from a local, actually from Dawn's garden. I did supplement it with a little bit of store-bought. But yeah, so we were trying to really do that. And here I had apples first, but we just had apples, right? So we put grapes in. But yeah, apples, grapes. Of course, with celery, you can swap out with carrots or peppers or something. That's what I would do. And then the onions, they don't have to be the red onions that we did tonight. They can be a different onion. I think the red onion kind of adds a little pop to this. Any questions on this one? Or maybe you haven't even gotten a chance to eat it. The dressing. So Dawn's going to talk all about all the dressings. We kind of tackled this thing together. Teamwork makes the dream work. Dawn will talk about that. Yeah. She is the dressing master. And so gotta go back again. The spinach strawberry salad, it's kind of my creation. Don't read anything into it. So it has my name on it. But the zucchini, thank you. My favorite salad is actually the zucchini corn salad with basil. And so that's gonna be, while they're getting it ready, sorry. It's the very quick salad thing. We'll talk a little bit about that. So you're gonna get 2 zucchinis, roughly the size, maybe a little bit bigger. So the corn, let's talk about the corn for a second. We did use canned corn. It adds just a hint of salt, which helps with the flavoring. But you can use frozen corn or fresh corn. Fresh corn, you can cook it or not. Either way, that's up to you. And then basil. So also in this salad, the zucchini was mostly locally sourced, a couple store-bought things. And then the basil was mostly locally sourced. The last little bit was store-bought. Love, love, love basil. I think that kind of makes the salad pop. Will you guys get it? Sorry. Same thing with the salad. You're gonna get your feta and your tofu to see what you like best. And then, yeah.
Are we still on broccoli salad?
No, we've moved over to the zucchini corn salad. Yeah, sorry about that. All 3 of these salads, outside of prep, super simple, super easy, and thank you. But also feel free to experiment with the things that you have at home in your fridge already, in your garden already. Because all of these are suggestions. Swap things in and out. Cucumbers would also work if you've got a lot of cucumbers going. But yeah, any questions on this? They're pretty self-explanatory. Yeah.
Is the broccoli pre-cooked?
So the question is, the broccoli pre-cooked? The broccoli is not pre-cooked. Yeah, nothing. Yeah, nothing in this is pre-cooked. It's just chopping.
Okay.
All right. We're gonna see if Jonathan can come back out here and give us some more fun tidbits. Well, not only fun, but educational tidbits. And we'll get that third salad out to you. Yeah.
I'm not done with tofu. Oh, no, that's right. Man down. Hello. That's an entrance. Delicious. Pardon me.
Well, I mean, these recipes are pretty vetted from the team.
Wonderful. So, summer is a good time for salads. Keeps it light, gives you freedom to move and that type of thing. So there's the other thing I wanted to talk about, or that I get to talk to you about today, is this topic, over here. This whole topic of today is gardening. Gardening is kind of the theme for today's salads and bountiful harvest. We have started to get a bountiful harvest, so much produce was brought here today, and you are welcome to avail yourselves of it. Some of it came from my own garden, and my wife did want me to convey that if you do take some of the produce over there, we, at least at our house, do not use any pesticides. We basically just put water on our plants, so I would recommend washing the things, specifically the kale. A lot of that kale came from our house. The fun part about the kale, side note, we didn't plant any of it this year. It came up on its own, and it was planted last year, and it survived the winter. It was pretty comical, because last fall, it basically just kind of went, well, if you're not going to water me, I guess I'll stop. And then basically as soon as the snow melted, it went, all right, good to go, let's do this. And it immediately started growing. It was pretty fantastic. So we've had kale since it thawed. So kale is kind of a great one. Dark leafy greens have a lot of good nutrients and that type of thing. Let's go and skip to the, so what I'd like to talk to you about, first off, is the benefits of gardening. So the benefits of gardening. There are a number of benefits. Much of this list I got from Mayo Clinic. They're kind of articles on gardening, and then my own experience. So one of the benefits of gardening is increased exercise. It makes you move. What do you mean benefits of extra exercise? Well, in our modern day and age, we have the luxury of not really ever having to bend our knees more than about 90 degrees. And in fact, we even have chairs that will help you stand up. But the problem is that if you never bend your knee more than 90 degrees, you forget how to bend your knee more than 90 degrees. So gardening, I don't know if you're aware of this, but most plants grow on the ground. And so to tend to them, it kind of makes you have to get down a little lower than you would normally get. Then other countries across the world, there are 70, 80-year-old grandmas tending fires in their little huts. And the reason they can do that is because they never stop doing it. And so gardening makes you get out and get into positions that you wouldn't normally get into. Maybe you just have to kneel. They make these nice comfortable pads because the ground is hard, let's be real. And so exercise, also you have to move some stuff. Sometimes you have to shovel, dig some dirt. When you dig the dirt out, it's got to go somewhere. So you take your wheelbarrow and wander around. So you do these functional movements, functional activities that get you full range of motion, and they're really good for your overall health and longevity. Typically, when you garden, you usually get some kind of food out of it. That is kind of the point of gardening. Unless you garden flowers, that's fine too. They're beautiful. My wife's got a nice little plot of zinnias, and the heat this year has made them do really well. And so the giant zinnias are very giant, and they're lovely. And she's been able to cut some and give them to friends, and that's always brightens people's day to get cut flowers. But you improve your diet, because now you're eating food directly from the ground, directly from its source. I think in previous times we've talked about how much of our food supply we actually have. When you go to the grocery store, you're buying food that was often picked too early, transported too long, and now it's just not quite as good as it could be. And so by gardening, you get access to fresh food that's directly from the source. And I don't know if it's sad to say, but it was only until I was an adult that I found out that berries are actually grown at room temperature. They're actually not refrigerated normally, and they taste different directly off the bush. So we have a couple of berry bushes in our yard, and we're trying to grow some more, like raspberries. Actually, we got raspberries, and they're on one side, kind of contained, because they like to, much like the strawberries. Berry bushes in general just kind of like to wander. So I don't know, we've probably got some gardeners out here today, but yes?
We know there's at least one more that we need.
Can you raise your hand if you didn't get the last salad? There's one there. Anyone? Otherwise, everyone else?
Everyone on the second row got one?
Okay, looks like it. Excellent. All right, so improved diet. That's another benefit of gardening. We get food directly from the source. You also spend time outside in nature. So many of us, especially in Montana, we suffer from being stuck indoors for an extended period of dark time known as winter. And having an excuse or an impetus, a motivation to actually spend some time outside in the sun, in the fresh air, is really good for your physical health as well as your mental health. So gardening can be therapeutic. It's often used as a therapy, and because it reduces stress. Sometimes that repetitive process of just being there and pulling some weeds for an hour, it just changes your outlook on life. Maybe the things you were worried about aren't quite so bad now. And you also made your garden look a little bit better because you tended to it. And so bringing kind of order to chaos is one of the part of the things, although there is some chaos in gardening. But bringing some order to it, making it look the way you want it to, it's peaceful and it's restful and it's restorative. So it's very good for reducing stress levels. Also, because exercise is good for reducing stress levels. Helps burn off that excess cortisol that we so frequently run into in our day-to-day lives in this modern, fast-paced society. Gardening also provides a social connection. You're stuck in a room with a bunch of strangers, chances are somebody will talk about gardening. So now you don't have to be isolated or alone. You can have a connection point with most people. There is not really too many people I think you'll run into who won't at least be somewhat interested in the topic of gardening. Because even if they don't garden, gardening is interesting. It's just one of those things where, oh really? I might be an apartment dweller in the middle of the city, but a garden? You can grow what? It looks like what? There's a squash over there. It's called a patipan. I'd never heard of it till last year. And it's this weird little yellow bulb-looking thing. They're cool, and they also grow like crazy. And so we actually have, that's again, a volunteer plant. We like to call them that. They pop up on their own. We didn't plant it this year. It just kind of came out of the compost pile. And we have patipan now everywhere. Didn't plant it. It ended up in the compost pile, and it's like, hello. And then you find fun things to talk about in gardening. Social connection, like you can tell stories about how tomato plants are the most persnickety little things. You spend all spring planting and cultivating and catering and trying to get this little tiny plant to just grow, will you? Will you just grow a little bit? And then you get it transported outside and you're like, please don't die. Please don't frost. Please don't die. And then you hit about midsummer and you're like, good grief. Where did this bush come from? Like, I'm just going to cut some pieces off of that, chuck those. Oh, there's a tomato plant over here now. Well, now they're just growing everywhere. It took me 3 months to get you to be alive, and now you're just going to grow on the path where I threw you. These tomato plants, you find all these interesting things about plants, and then you just you talk about it with other people. All right, and now I need to check. I forgot what we're doing next. So we'll now turn our time back over to our fearless leader for a delightful treat that you will sure want to pay attention to.
Thank you, Jonathan. Actually, I get to talk about a whole bunch. Wait, John, do you want a cookie? Okay. Okay, so we're going to start with the tofu marinade. I did want to show you that real quick, if they can. Can you bring me the bowl of tofu? It's right behind you. Okay, so all of this marinade, it's really easy. A lot of times the marinade, you might need to use an immersion blender or something like that. Not in this one. You just take the ingredients and you can whisk with your arm, or you can put it in a blender if you want, but just whisk it up. On this, it says 1/4 cup to 1/2 cup of olive oil. So if you're making it for the zucchini salad, and yes, if you're making it for the zucchini salad, I would use the lower amount of oil. If you're making the zucchini salad and you're putting the feta in it, you need to put like all of the oil in that. Well, I mean, it's up to you, of course, how much oil you put. But if you do the lower amount of oil on the tofu and the lower amount of oil on the zucchini salad, then it's like, it's kind of missing something. You know, it just is a little bit not quite as good as it could be. So put the full oil in one of them for sure. And then, so that's the tofu marinade. You mix it up. you squeeze the, okay, you guys know how to get the water out of tofu? Yes or no? No. Okay. So you can have a tofu press. I think Teresa brought one when she did it. You may or may not have seen that. But you can buy something. It's a little box kind of like this. You put it in there as a spring. It squeezes all the water out. Or if you don't have one, or you loaned it to your neighbor, whatever, take a plate, a flat plate or a flat pan with an edge. I like to put paper towel down. Put your tofu on it. Put another plate or pan on top of it and something heavy on top. And then just let it sit there for, 10 minutes or so and run off the water, and then you can change the paper towel and do it again if you want. But that's one way where you don't have to go buy something. But 2 plates or 2 pans with a lip and weight will do the same thing. You saw the size that I cut it. I cut it really tiny, and my tofu press has a cutter in it where you can just press down and it makes little, they're probably 1/2 inch square, and then the depth of the tofu. And so I cut those in half one way and in 4ths the other way. So it's just, cut it tiny, and then you just mix it in. Just carefully, because if you are not careful, then you just have crumbles. But, you want that. So, yes, ma'am. On this one, I used firm. On our practice, I used extra firm and super firm, and I liked that, but other people thought it should be a little softer. So that's why I used a little bit softer. And plus, I think all stores have tofu in them now, all grocery stores. I think Costco has one that you can get 4 pounds for $6.99 or thereabouts, and it's firm. So that's why, another reason why I chose that one. But yes, if you freeze tofu, it has a different texture when it comes out. I think slightly chewier. It's a little drier, yeah, a little chewier. It's just, I like it if you were to make chicken salad or egg salad with tofu, I like it to be frozen. Between now and our next class, I'm trying this recipe. It is crispy chicken, no, not chicken, crispy tofu. I think they're called steaks or sandwiches or something. But you marinate it in pickle juice and freeze it and then thaw it out. And so I'll bring the recipe to you, but we won't be tasting that one, I don't think, at the class. But I imagine it's going to be delicious, and I hope it really is, because like the plantains, I thought they were going to be delicious too. Anyway, okay, so that's that marinade. You have questions on this marinade? Anyone? Okay, Joshua. Okay, the vinaigrette that you had on the spinach salad is an oil-free vinaigrette, so there's no oil in that. This is the same idea. You take all the ingredients, put it in your blender, and blend it. Now, dates are kind of like they make your blender go, So I put it in. I took the juice from the garbanzos, and I emptied it and measured it. I put the dates in it while I got everything else together, and then I blended them. So that's the pro tip on that one.
Now, are the dates to provide sweetness?
Yes. And if you want it to be a little more sweet, put more dates in. Wait, did you have questions on this?
So the aquafaba is really just the juice?
It's the juice from garbanzos, yeah. And the recipe calls...
The garbanzo beans in it?
Not in it, but I am using them. I will eat them, yeah. I love garbanzo beans. Okay, the broccoli salad dressing. I use raw cashews. I use the pieces because they're the least expensive. And then the same thing, lemon juice. The dates, so does your recipe say cashews and water or not? Okay, so 1 cup of cashews soaked in 1 cup of water. Okay, so that's what, and you rinse the cashews first because you're going to use that water that it's sitting in. You're not going to empty it out and put more water on. So you use that water, the dates and the water and all those things. The same thing the other day when I was making it, I put the dates in the water with the cashews to get them a little softer, and then I did all the rest of these. And then, so I did not make this today. It's just been a couple of days, and it thickened up a lot. So you might want to add more water to get it to the consistency you want. A high-speed blender makes it easiest. So, any questions on this? Yes.
I think I'm asking it for another thing that you did, but what goes into the tofu? Is it balsamic vinaigrette?
In the tofu, no. Can you go back, Joshua? Can I have the miso that's in one of those? Okay. And then I also on the tofu, one of the reasons I changed the amount of oil in that is because this, can you see that? There's like a lot of juice left at the end, and I'm like, and then if it's in the fridge, it's chunky because it's olive oil, and and it's like So I try to use as little oil as possible, but sometimes you do, so we just try to keep it. Did that answer your question? Okay. Okay, now we're back to broccoli salad. Oh, miso. I wanted to show you miso.
So where is that?
Yeah, that's what you would think. It is not. No. It is one of those things I'm like, oh, I know where that is. And I went to a part of the grocery store, and it's not where. It is by the vegetables. So in the store I got it was by the mushrooms, which are in their own little cooler, mushrooms, and I think there was Japanese stuff in there, so probably near the tofu, and then on the bottom of that one, not on yours, but I think on you guys's printed it says salt to taste.
Oh,
Does it?
take it off.
No, that's something different. Yeah.
Oh, sorry.
This broccoli one definitely needs the salt on it. Salt to taste. I probably did 1/4 to a 1/2 teaspoon is what I would start with if I were you on that. But I mean, unless if you're low salt and then you use less, Anyway, salt to taste. Okay. This one. Any other questions on this one? Okay. Oh, the dressing for this one is really, so here you see the 1 to 2 tablespoons of oil. If you're using the feta, I would use all of the oil because otherwise it's very dry. You could add more lemon juice if you wanted instead of all the oil, but it's going to change the flavor a little bit. So, and this one is literally so simple. You put it in a bowl, you whisk it up, you dump it on it. You probably could just dump it all on the salad itself and then mix it up, but I didn't want to take that chance. So, any questions on this one? Okay, now you looked up the difference between the dates. The ones that we said, the module, is that module? They're a larger, softer, sweeter, more moist date. So if you use 2 of those and you have this, so if it's this big and you have another date like this, and if they just said date and you use 2 of these instead of 2 of these, that you'd be like, what? So I think that's why they specified what kind, so you know approximately the size, the amount to use. Okay. Now we're going to have Pickle come out. Pickle come out. Here they come. Okay. These are just like the title says, quick pickle. I was telling my coworker this morning, I needed to do pickles last night, but I didn't have time. And she's like, I said, oh no, this is a quick pickle. All you have to do is mix up the stuff, put it in the jar, wait 10 minutes. So this one technically has been almost 3 hours. But yeah, it wasn't canned or anything, so it only stays in the fridge as long as you. I don't know how to can pickles, so, but it's the same as on your recipe. If it's too salty, then use less salt. But anyway, I didn't taste them. Are they good?
Yes. And the pickling spice, you get that?
Oh, the pickling spice is in the spice section.
Okay.
At this time of year, actually, Jan, do you guys have it? Do you know? Yeah. Is it? Yeah. Okay. Yeah. So aisle 2 on the bottom shelf in Albertsons. In Winco, it's in the bulk section back by the spices. But if you think you're going to want to make pickles in December, you need to buy pickling spice now, because they don't have it in December. I have tried several times. So there's, yeah. Okay. Any questions on the pickles? Yes. You know, my mom doesn't like dill pickles, so I tried it sweet, and I don't like sweet pickles, so I put the pickling spice in, but not the dill, and I put some sugar in, more sugar, and I think it tasted okay. So I mean, it's not very many things to waste if it, you know. So, but on the dill ones, I take a generous pinch. So a pinch, you usually go like this. I go like this, all 3 fingers there. So, yes, ma'am.
I'm wondering if you could maybe parboil beets and use your recipe.
That's very interesting. Yeah, maybe. She asked about pickling beets, parboiling the beets, and then using this recipe for them. So that might work. She'll let us know next time when she tried it. So, okay, any questions on this one? I'm losing you guys fast because it's time to be done. No more? Okay, now it's cookies. Cookies. I love to bake, okay? These monster cookies, I make it work, and they are not plant-based. They have all the butter, they have all the eggs, they have all the stuff. But I'm like, I'm gonna make these monster cookies plant-based. And it only took 6 or 7 tries, and I did. So the ones that yes, we had samplers along the way, yeah. The ones that you're getting, the large one is with chocolate in it, and the smaller one has craisins in it. So your recipe says, or craisins. So right here and here in your recipe, it says, or craisins. After it says 1/3 cup. You would need both of those 1/3 of cups for your recipe. I wanted to show you some things on that. My favorite peanut butter would be Adams. I did not use this one because this is just crunchy and I wanted extra crunchy, so I used a different brand. Well, I also made them. My daughter cannot have peanuts, so I used Wow Butter in some of them. So this, yeah, Wow Butter. It is soybeans. Soy, it's made from soy. So it's peanut, nut, and tree nut free. And it is, when I first heard about it, the lady said, oh yeah, I buy it all the time. And so I looked at several stores, could not find it. I went back and I said, where did you find this? And she said, oh, it's in all the stores. And I'm like, well, where would it be in those stores? Well, buy the peanut butter. So I looked again. I can't find it in Helena. This came from Amazon. So I don't know if it's available in Helena or not, but I haven't been able to find it. So WOW. Wow, yeah. And yeah, wow. And I liked this. I did not try sunflower butter or almond butter for people with peanut allergies because both of those are they're a little less, maybe intense is the right word. So it kind of just blend into everything else. So that's why I tried this one on it. And then I was concerned initially that there's not going to be M&Ms because we use mini M&Ms at work. And I wanted mini M&Ms, which would be better in this. But so far, all I can find is regular size M&Ms. So these ones are plant-based. These are the only ones I've been able to find plant-based. But there may be others, but these are the ones that I have been able to find. Thank you. This is, you can buy like a 6-pack of applesauce like this. If you don't have a lot of people in your house that are eating applesauce, this is a half a cup. If I buy a jar of applesauce, we end up throwing most of it away because we eat it once or twice and then it just sits there because, I'll use that in, and it gets, so this is a half a cup, so that works for this recipe. This is the scoop I used for yours. At work, I made them much bigger. They're monsters, but this is a sample.
So the scoop for the little one or the big one?
This is the big one. This is a 20 scoop. If you don't know, there's a little number in here. It's 20. It doesn't really like these cookies, so now it's broken. But this is the size. I did measure. It's 3 tablespoons. So I don't know that I would actually measure out 3 tablespoons to make cookies, but a nice size ball, something like this. And then I press them down just a little bit so that to help them spread out. Oh yeah, here's my pickling spice. Pickling spice has cinnamon, nutmeg, allspice, ginger, and cloves if you want to make pickling spice. Yeah, there you go. Yeah. Questions on this?
How long do you bake them and at what time?
I did. Okay, this is another weird thing. I don't know if it has to do with the butter and the eggs.
It says it
Yep.
down here.
At work, these cookies come out this big. We're talking monster cookies, right? They're this big. They cook for 8 minutes. Only 8 minutes. In a turbo chef, but it's 8 minutes. This one, I did 8 minutes and then turned them around and switched shelves and did 8 more minutes. And hopefully they're done, So, and if you need another minute, it's okay too.
Okay, so there was a question whether or not does cooking flaxseed take out the nutrients? So the answer to that, I'm going to give you more information than you even ask. So it does not eliminate all the nutrients, but can reduce their nutritional quality and make some compounds less available, while also potentially reducing harmful substances like cyanide compounds. The omega-3s and this other thing in flaxseed are fairly heat stable, but excessive heat can degrade their compounds and make them harder to absorb. Roasting or grinding flaxseed, especially when combined with moisture during baking, helps to break down the hard outer seed coat, which improves the digestibility and absorption of the nutrients. So there you go.
Well, it's been a fun evening here, and I have just a few more things for you. It's mostly actually a teaser for later. Anyway, I wanted to touch on, gardening, we kind of talked about earlier about how gardening is good for you, how gardening, there's so many benefits to it. But where do you start? Now, many of you probably have dabbled in gardening if you don't do gardening already. But for those who don't, I just wanted to kind of touch on the basics a little bit, just a little teaser, if you will. Although gardening season is actually rapidly heading towards its close, at least based on my previous however many years of experience. Winter eventually comes, but we try not to say it out loud. But for starting a garden. Now, my recommendation, and the recommendation from the various sources I checked, is to start small. if you haven't done gardening at all, it's easy to get overwhelmed. If you get yourself like, I'm just going to tear up the whole backyard and plant it all, you're very much going to not like gardening. So the recommendation is start small. Start with a little plot. According to some types of gardening, like square foot gardening, you could take a 4x4 plot and make a whole bunch of food. And so just start small. You can start with, there are easy varieties to start with. And knowing what those are comes to kind of the third item here, which is to build a network. There are lots of people who are really interested in gardening, and there's a lot of places where you can get really good gardening information. Not necessarily to pitch them in particular, but we've had a lot of good luck with Garden Works here in town. I went to a drip irrigation class, which is why I put it on here. One thing I found with gardening is to figure out how to water it regularly, because it turns out, much like you, plants need water to survive. And so you got to figure out how you're going to water it. And I found that, especially for a busy life, I have a couple of small kids and a wife, and we're always going and doing something. I'm just in that time of life where I'm very busy. It's really handy to have an automatic drip watering system that handles the garden that we have in the backyard. We've grown over the years, and we do have quite a bit of space to cover. And if we had to hand water that, it would take a couple hours or more every day. But I have it on drip irrigation system, so the water goes exactly where it's supposed to and doesn't water all the weeds. It just waters the plants that I want to water. And so I do highly recommend that, because watering will lead to success, which makes you want to garden more. And it also takes the load off, which is like menial tasks like watering. If you can automate that, then you can spend more time thinking about what cool new varieties of plants you want to plant. Or just stick with some of the basics. We have had really good luck with garlic here. Garlic works great. You just put it in the ground in fall and forget about it. And then you just water it once in a while. It doesn't even take that much water. I overwatered ours this year, but we still managed to survive. Lots of information out there. You just got to be willing to learn. And if you find you're in an apartment, or you have some sort of completely onerous HOA that won't let you plant a garden, there are community plots that you can get involved in. I haven't had a lot of experience with them myself, but you can find them all over town. You kind of pass by and you're like, what is that crazy overgrown patch of land right over there with a fence around it? Probably a community garden. And some people are growing some really cool things over there. And there are a lot of people that are really interested in gardening that you can learn a lot from. And like I mentioned earlier, you build that community, that social connection, that network with other gardeners, with other people who are interested in gardening, and you can learn a lot more. And in fact, we have some of those in our very midst here and probably out here, I suspect. And so I if I may tease, kind of putting this on the boss, so shh, don't tell her, but I think come springtime, maybe February, March, when I see you all again, we'll see you then before then, but we'll probably do a little more focus on gardening. We've got a gal in the back. She usually washes the dishes, but she grows a lot of stuff, actually. In fact, one of our first years, we harvested our potatoes, and we were really proud because we had a couple of massive potatoes. So cool. Like, look, we got potatoes. And we said, hey, we got 21 pounds of potatoes. And she said, oh, that's cute. I was like, I thought that was pretty good. Like, oh, apparently I don't know nothing. But so always fun things to learn. And I guess I'll turn over to, are you ready for closing? Okay. Or should I close? Is there anything more? Okay. Well, so please do fill out the surveys. We do appreciate that feedback. I'm actually keeping a running list of your recommendations, and so as appropriate and as time works, we try and fit those in. We'll fit those into our programs, and so we do appreciate that, and we very much appreciate all of you coming and enjoying this food with us. And so thank you very much for your time. And what is our next date?
Oh, October 6th.
October 6th is our next date. October 6th. Put it on your calendar. Emails will go out.
Okay.
Emails will go out, and you'll, as long as you're on our email list. So, and we'll look forward to seeing you then.
And if you have any questions, you can just find one of us.
Yes, absolutely. Oh, I guess I was the one thing. Who in here already gardens? Okay, we got some gardeners. Okay, who's gardened more than 5 years? Okay, we got who's gardened 10 years? Okay. You seem reluctant, but I'm curious now. 20 years. Who's been gardening for 20 years or more? Oh. I have a question for you. If you were to give Your one piece of advice, most important for somebody starting out gardening, what would it be?
Make sure you have a lot of time to spend with your garden.
Is it time? A lot time?
I like to be out there, just looking at them and caring for them, and it's my first time doing it, so it's a wonderful time.
So gardening, it's worth your time, but it is going to take some time. So just plan on that with gardening, but you won't be sorry you did. So. All right, thank you, folks. Appreciate it.